do I say in the informational interview? If you come across a job that you like, or you simply want to learn more about a specific career path, then you need to do networking. Networking can help you learn more about that career path that you want to dive into. Sometimes it can also help you to get referrals. Now, a big piece of networking is reaching out to do an informational interview. But what do I write to these people? What do I say in the informational interview? Well, I'm back in the job market now, and I'm going to share with you my strategies on how I do cold outreach and informational interview. I know that networking has a bad rap, especially if you don't know how to do it well. But networking is one of the most strategic tools to help you when you plan and explore for a career. Now, before we begin, I do want to share some tips to help you prep for your informational interview. Well, first, identify what's your biggest fear when it comes to networking. You don't know what to write in the intro email when you reach out to people? Well, there's so many templates out there. I even have one down below for you. You don't know what to say in the informational interview? Well, prep some guiding questions. I also have some example questions for you. You think it's gonna be awkward? Heck yeah, it is gonna be awkward because you're talking to a stranger, but you're gonna learn to be better at it. Well, secondly, shift your perspective. Informational interview is not transactional. You're simply having a conversation with another human being to learn more about that person and to learn more about their role, the field, and the industry. You don't have to feel obligated to give something in return. The person on the other end is likely to have more experiences than you, so they're likely not expecting you to give something in return either. And lastly, do your research. Find out more about this person. Look them up on LinkedIn. Look them up on Google. Do they write anything? Do they post anything? What do they talk about? What's their argument? What's their main interest? And jot this down because you can use this as talking points in your interview. And see, you have some guiding questions already. Do they post anything beyond work? Can you find their personal interests? And you can use this as conversation starters. And ultimately, doing research beforehand makes you feel more familiar and connected with this person even before you meet them. Now let's talk about what do you write when you reach out to this person. I typically divide into 3 categories. First is your introduction. Second is what are you looking for in this conversation? And third, your call to action. So in the first category, your introduction, you can write about who you are and what do you do. So for example,
Hi there, my name's Fatin and I'm currently a student at blah blah blah. I'm interested in learning more about blah blah blah.
The second category is what are you looking for from this person? Now, be as specific as you can. For example,
I love to learn more about your role at blah blah blah. I love to get to know your typical workday, what you like about the job, and any advice that you can give me as a beginner.
And then end the message with your call to action.
Do you have a time to meet with me for a brief conversation? If so, please send me 1 to 2 times that work for you.
A tip here is, since you're asking to meet with a working professional, they're likely very busy. I would recommend no more than 30 minutes to be respectful of their time. The key is to be direct and professional, since you're essentially asking this person to spend time with you. Even if they answer no, say thank you. Always remember to be respectful. Here is an example of a colleague who reached out to me. He has a great introduction. He clearly stated what he was looking for from the meeting, and he had a call to action. Now, let's get to the type of questions that you can ask. Typically, I like to structure my conversation into 3. The intro, the meat of the conversation, and then the closing. So for the intro, you want to start your conversation with reminding the person who you are, so doing a little bit of introduction, and then what you're like to get from the conversation. You can also share where you are in the career journey, whether you're just beginning to look for more information or you're already applying for different jobs, so that the person that you're talking to can give a more tailored response. So some sample questions that you can ask is, how did you become interested in the field? What was your journey like? Now, these are almost foolproof starter questions because the person that you're talking to can easily draw from their past experiences. Next is the meat of the conversation. This is really about what you're interested in learning about from this person. There's really no right or wrong questions, but typically I like to structure my conversation with these 3 things. One is learning about the role. Some questions would be, describe your typical workday. What do you find most rewarding and most challenging? I also like to learn more about the company. So some sample questions that you can ask is, describe the company culture. Does the company support work-life balance? Now, if you have a value that's important to you, say that you want a job that gives you more autonomy, you can ask this person some questions like, what does autonomy look like in the company? Who determines the projects that you work on? Do you get much say in that? Now, the person's response is gonna vary based on the company, so keep that in mind. I'd also like to learn more about the field in general and where I can do further learning. Some example questions that you can ask is, how do you stay informed on the latest trend of the field? Who would you recommend I talk to? What books or podcasts or blogs or articles would you recommend? If you feel like you get enough advice already, now you're ready to close the conversation. So you can thank them for lending their time and valuable insights to you, or you can ask them for one last question. My favorite question is, what is one last piece of advice that you can give me? Now, bonus time. I also have some extra tips to improve your networking. Number 1, you can send a message to people without asking to meet. You can do this when you send a new connection on LinkedIn or when you get a new connection request. My go-to message is always, happy to connect with you, stranger. I look forward to learning from your experiences. What this does is, maybe you don't have something to learn from this person at the moment, or that person just doesn't have a matching experience with what you're looking for. But you're already building a relationship with this person. So when there's an opportunity comes in the future, then you have already talked to this person. The second tip is, thank people often. When you're learning about a specific career path, you're likely to come across an interesting article, or video, or blog post, or webinar that someone made. You can send a thank you note to the person sharing their experiences and expertise. You can add 1 to 2 things that you learned from that piece. When I was starting in UX, I did this so many times. Whenever I came across an interesting article or attended a webinar, I would always thank the person at the end. Now, fast forward 2 years later, I saw a job posting at a company that this person is working at. So now, it's easy for me to reach out to this person to do an in-depth informational interview because I already had some history connecting with them in the past. Of course, I didn't think of this back then, but gratitude does come a long way. Well, that's it, friends. I hope that these strategies are helpful for you. Let me know in the comment down below which one is most useful. And I would really appreciate it if you can give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Alright, see you next time. Bye! Now let's get to the ingredients. Cut a career transitioner. That's not even a word. Okay. How do I stop this? You can